Hey, welcome to The Snap. Your host, Mack, here today, joined as always by my co-host, Landon, and we're talking the potential running back 3 in this class, Javonte Williams out of North Carolina. He is a junior, 21 years of age, 5'10", 220, and this guy is a bruiser. We're super excited to talk about him today as the next tier of running back class. Lando, what's going on, buddy?
I'm excited to talk about Javonte Williams. And the real question is where do you take him in your rookie drafts? And we're going to go the pros, the cons. We're going to look at his film room, his college production, what his best comparable players are in the NFL. And should you take him at number 4, number 3? Could you take him as low as number 7? That's kind of the stuff we're going to cover today. But either way, I'm pretty excited about this prospect. He can do everything really well.
And when we talk about his accolades, nothing's going to jump off the page to you here. Second team all ACC, PFF has him as their ACC player of the year. Hard to really earn those type of awards when you've been competing with Travis Etienne, who exclusively had his own workload. And mentioning that, Michael Carter had an equal opportunity share in his time at North Carolina. These two together, probably one of the best duos in college football, but Michael Carter certainly did eat into the workload and potential performance for a guy like Javonte Williams. So speak to that just for a quick second.
And people are going to knock Javonte for really not commanding a bigger share of the workload, but Michael Carter is a very good prospect on his own. He's not as big, but they're kind of like the thunder and lightning kind of aspect. Mm-hmm. Michael Carter is more explosive. Javonte Williams is more powerful, and that's how to really distinguish the two of them. Both are good guys. Both are going to go probably in the top 3 or 4 rounds in the NFL draft. I wouldn't be that surprised if Michael Carter got picked first. Honestly, it just depends on what their team needs. But looking in 2020, he averaged 7.3 yards per carry, which is great, and he got 30 targets, so he's a fairly proficient pass catcher. But he's been pretty good, averaging more than 5 yards per carry his entire career. If it wasn't for Michael Carter, he would be right up there as one of the all-time prospects with a Najee and Travis Etienne.
Yeah, absolutely. And his 22 touchdowns in his junior year is an UNC football record. And so Javonte Williams, with that, among a couple other records we're going to talk about, he's a fairly... in terms of an advanced analytics or metric standpoint, he has accomplished a pretty decent amount of things in his limited workload, like 322 carries in his final 2 seasons, sophomore and junior season, for over 2,000 yards. So very, very efficient, most of it coming after contact. One record we'll talk about is in the PFF, Pro Football Focus era of grading rushers. He has a 95.9 rating, which is the highest ever rushing grade. And when you factor in the guys of last year's class, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, CEH, Gibson, that is a pretty impressive feat considering how successful that last class was. So Javonte Williams is no slouch. Don't take it that because he shared the backfield with Michael Carter, he's less of a prospect. It was part of the scheme, and both of these guys, like Landon said, could be second, third round picks. So we won't take that away from him. We will celebrate what he was able to do with Michael Carter.
Yeah, when you jump into the film room, he's a big, elusive running back. Nobody wants to tackle this guy, and he breaks most tackles. Getting a corner on him, I mean, good luck, man. You got to get low. You can't tackle him high. That NCAA record is phenomenal at 0.48 broken tackles per attempt. So every other rush, he's breaking at least 1 tackle. So
that's crazy. Even
though he's somewhat of a landing spot dependent running back, I do believe he's going to command attempts at whichever backfield he's in. Even on paper, he lands behind a veteran. It's not going to be great for fantasy. I still think that eventually, halfway through the season, he's going to be the guy getting the majority of the tackles. That's kind of the vibe I get from Javonte Williams.
Yeah, and like you said, like him being able to break tackles, his contact balance is really, really strong. I would say arguably as impressive as Travis Etienne, and I might not speak for both of us there.
Wow.
But for me, it's there. I think he's very, very productive after contact. You noted 7.3 yards per carry for Javonte Williams. in 2020, 4.6 yards after contact, which was second best in the country. He also racked up 23 rushes of 10 or more yards, which is 4 more than any other back in the country. So this guy is tough to tackle. He creates a ton after contact, and he has that big playability, which really for a running back is what we are looking for.
Fantasy Twitter has been buzzing about this guy. So far, you know why. He on paper, on film, he looks great, but we got to talk about some of the cons, some of the negatives about Javonte Williams, and maybe why he won't get highly drafted, or maybe why you shouldn't take him with that number 4 pick. So Mac, what didn't you really like about Javonte?
It's not because he can't catch the football, because he certainly can. That's one other thing that I wanted to bring up. He's a competent pass catcher. You know, he catches the ball very naturally in the backfield. You can line him up and run routes. Like, he's solid in that respect. Some things that I didn't like from Javonte Williams. Look, this is something, you know, I love him because he's physical, but I also don't like the fact that he's overly physical, because time after time again, we've seen overly physical backs having a higher probability of injury. And I'm not saying that he's injury prone. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but that is one concern. Another concern that I have is he doesn't really have that breakaway speed. When he gets to the second level of a defense, he might not be able to separate enough in terms of speed, but again, he's a tough tackle. So he might be able to beat defenders differently, but he doesn't have that breakaway straight line speed that other backs do possess. Yeah,
and his pass blocking ability isn't that great, and that's going to be typical for a lot of rookies. But if you want this guy to be a 3-down running back and on the field on third down, he's got to be able to block in the backfield and block for that quarterback behind him. And I know he's a competent pass catcher and he's good at it, but if he can't block for the quarterback, he's not going to be on the field.
Right. And this is something that can be coached at the next level, because when you look at a guy who's 5'10", 220, his frame certainly lends itself to effective pass blocking. It just might be a technique thing, and recognizing blitzes, but he'll get there. I'm not concerned overly with that. In watching some tape, I was somewhat concerned with his east-west maneuverability. I didn't think he was overly elusive in tight quarters. However, you did. You saw some film where you said, look, he got the ball on a screen pass. He was met within a yard and was able to make someone miss. So we've seen maybe different things. My position there is he's going to try to beat you north-south more than he will east-west. When we talk about elusiveness, I think there's multiple ways to categorize it. There's like your Derrick Henry side, where he's elusive because he sheds arm tackles, and you can't take him down unless it's below the waist. And then there's Alvin Kamara, who's also elusive, where you can't get a finger on the guy. He will make you miss in a phone booth. And where does Javonte Williams fall on that spectrum? I think he's closer to the Derrick Henry side than the Alvin Kamara side, but that's not to say that he doesn't possess the elusiveness in his game for the Kamara make you miss type. I just think he'll try to beat you north-south more than he will east-west. That was my takeaway.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's a great thing. You don't really want running backs that are jumping around in the backfield trying to make you miss side to side. I think that's a great thing that he kind of tries to plow through and go north. And that reminds me of a guy like Chris Carson. He's my best NFL comparison. But he's Chris Carson with some draft capital, so he's a better prospect. Carson was a 7th round pick. Javonte Williams projects to be a 3rd or 4th round guy, and I think that'll be great for Javonte. If he goes in the 2nd round, wheels up, let's get going. He could be a 3rd down back and or a 3-down running back, and I think that'll be great. Carson has that aggressive play style, and he really stayed healthy for his entire career except for in 2020. So. I'm not super concerned with his ability to stay healthy, but look what happened to Carson this past year.
And I've been enjoying some of the more historical vintage type comps. Not to say that 1999 is vintage, but it's within the last 20 years. Ricky Williams is going to be the comp I'm going to go with. And Ricky Williams was a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. So Javonte Williams does not command the same draft capital, but they're about the same size and weight. 5'10", 226 for Williams, 5'10", 220 for Javonte Williams. They both Maybe that's a comparison. They both have the last name Williams. There's got to be some lineage there,
like
some
it.
DNA share. Yeah, for sure. But no, I think guys that in space, very tough to tackle, very physical runners. He comps well to Ricky Williams, I believe. And if he can have, a fraction of a career like Ricky did, like he had like 392 attempts in one season.
Yeah.
Ricky Williams was legit. So a poor man's Ricky Williams, let's just say. But I'm liking throwing the clock back with some of these comps.
Other vibes. I mean, I've seen some Carlos Hyde comparisons, and I know that doesn't get everyone excited about it, but when Carlos got the attempts, he was all right. And Aaron Jones, I think, is a good option too, but he's probably going to have better draft capital than Aaron Jones. But Mac, where do you have Javonte ranked in your NFL draft or on your NFL prospect list? And kind of where should you take him in your rookie drafts?
Yeah, I kind of spoiled this at the beginning of the video. He's the running back 3. I'll speak for both of us.
Yeah. He
is, below Harris and Etienne, but he's above the guys beneath, like Kenneth Gainwell and Chuba Hubbard and whoever else you have in that tier. Michael Carter, fine. He's in a tier of his own. The bigger question is, where do you take the running back 3?
Yeah.
And yes, it will be probably somewhat landing dependent. I don't think there's any place that Javonte Williams can go that ascends himself to the number 1 running back like we saw last year with CEH in Kansas City. But Landon, where do you take Javonte Williams in your rookie dynasty drafts?
We've seen running backs go so high, and in your redraft leagues, they're going to be plentiful in the first round. And that's why I could see you taking Javonte at pick 4. Right behind Etienne, Harris, and Jamar Chase. I could totally see pick 4. But if you want to go with pure talent and pure upside and elite prospect, going Kyle Pitts, maybe Rashad Bateman is definitely... Jalen Waddle is in the question. Devontae Smith, I potentially... so then going as late as 7... could be his floor, but I think right in between that spot is going to be the sweet spot to draft Javonte Williams.
Well, there you have it, guys. Your Javonte Williams profile for 2021. Let us know in the comments what you think of Javonte Williams, where you're targeting him, and who you want to see next in this rookie profile series. So until next Monday, we will see you. Have a good one, and good luck in those upcoming startup drafts.